You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. By any chance, does anyone know who actually said that? Yeah, I had to Google it because I didn't know either. But apparently it's some guy named Jim Rohn. I don't even know if I'm saying his name correctly. And if it weren't for Google, I still wouldn't know who said that. But I'm not here to talk about some random guy that none of us know. I'm here to talk about a really important person in my life. His name is Sean Smith, and he's my husband. I met Sean in 2011, and we started dating in my first year of dental school. Then, I proposed to him at the top of the Space Needle in Seattle in 2014, because we always decided I was going to be the one to propose. I got his engagement ring at a tourist shop in Seattle. I was walking with a friend on the waterfront, and I said, you know what? I'm going to propose to my boyfriend. It's time. And so we walked into this tourist shop, and there it was, a ring carved out of cow bone in the shape of an octopus. I'm really glad I got that reaction because for those of you that know Sean, know that this is the perfect engagement ring. We then got married in 2015 at the Desert Botanical Gardens in Phoenix. We were able to do this because the US Supreme Court had struck down laws banning gay people from getting married. In the last 11 years, Sean has continuously reminded me that we are the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So I attribute that quote to him. Why Sean is so important to me is he always gives me great perspective in life. Sometimes my brain gets a little hyper-focused on trivial details, and Sean gives me some objective perspective. Maybe every now and then I get caught up in some gossip that sounds really juicy, and Sean reminds me that there's always 2 sides to every story. And then there are times like February 22nd, 2022. It was the second day of the in-person convening in Miami. I was so excited to be there. We were all sitting on the patio at lunchtime, or that terrace, and we were bracing against what felt like hurricane-force winds trying to blow us off our feet. And for those of you that were there, you might remember the winds slightly differently, but it's my story and I want some drama. So as I was sitting there eating lunch with some of the senior fellows, I began to feel something. I wasn't sure what it was, but it really didn't feel good. So I went back to my hotel room on the 17th floor just to get some rest. I got into my room, I took off my shoes. I went to the balcony, I opened the door because I wanted to feel the breeze and look out at the water. And then I sat down and I began to cry. But this wasn't some demure, delicate cry. It was a painful, agonizing wail. And I couldn't stop. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and I said, what are you doing here? You couldn't even get your project off the ground. You're around all these amazing people. What gives you the right to be around these incredible human beings? The people that work in the most remote areas of Nepal. The people that help kids in the inner city find their way. These amazing individuals running for state legislative seats and people who face devastation and despair that you will never know every single day of their lives, yet they don't give up the fight for justice and equity. So I looked at that balcony and I heard a voice in my head. It's a voice that creeps up every now and then, but I usually am able to quiet it. I can tell that voice to piss off, you don't have a place here. After years of therapy, I thought I had managed to learn to manage that voice, but today, it was booming. It was so loud, and I hadn't even heard it that loud since my 20s, my early 20s, when I was in college, and I was at the height of my depression. That voice told me to do things like take a bottle of antidepressants that were sitting in my drawer. That voice told me to take a razor blade to my body. And on February 22nd, 2022, it was telling me to jump. It was telling me to jump from the 17th floor of that hotel. Face the fact that you're a useless human being that doesn't deserve to be here. That's what the voice was saying. I was so scared. I was scared because when I heard that voice in my 20s, I listened to it. I let me hurt myself. Back in my 20s, I overdosed twice on antidepressants and sedatives. I almost did it a third time, but I called 911, and when the operator on the other end said, "Why do you want to hurt yourself?" I said, "Because I can." Police officers came to my apartment and helped me, took me to a mental health hospital for the night, for a few hours, that is. Several times in my 20s, I took a razor blade to my leg, and I would watch. I'd do this in the shower, and I'd watch as the blood would splatter on the shower walls, because all I deserved to feel was pain. I never felt good when I did any of this, but I didn't know what else to do because that voice was so powerful. So as I wailed on the bed in my hotel room on February 22nd, 2022, I was scared. That voice could convince me to do things I never wanted to do. So all I could think of at this point was close the balcony door, close the curtains, because every time I looked outside, I got scared. Because the voice came back louder and louder. At this point, I just felt like the best thing to do was to get some sleep because I couldn't hurt myself if I was asleep. So I had some antihistamines with me, so I took an appropriate dose. I wasn't going to hurt myself, but I knew it would help me get to sleep. But before I fell asleep that is, I called Sean, because we always made a promise to one another that if we ever got in this headspace that we felt like we were going to hurt ourselves, we would always call. And I think over the next 24 hours, keep in mind it's a little blurry for the next 24 hours, I think what happened is he was the only person who really knew what was going on. And he spoke calmly to me on the phone. And even though he could barely understand me as I was sobbing, I repeatedly told him, "I promise I'm not going to hurt myself." I truly don't know if I believed that at the time, but I figured fake it till you make it was the only option I had. The next morning, this would be Wednesday morning, I woke up pretty early. I went down, got my COVID test before anyone else was there, so I didn't have to see anyone because all I wanted to do was avoid everyone. I stayed away from most of the morning sessions, and the one I did attend, I arrived too late and left as soon as it was over, sat right next to the door so I didn't have to talk to anyone. I ate lunch by myself inside because I was still so ashamed of being around all these unbelievable people. But then at one point I got a text, and it was from Paige. And Paige had asked where I was because I wasn't at dinner the night before. And I, again, don't remember all the details, but what I remember is that I told her everything's okay, I just need some time. And time is really what helped, because then came Wednesday afternoon. And Eliza led us through this amazing mindfulness exercise, this drawing exercise. And I'm not a good drawer, but I didn't care at that point. As we were drawing with pastels, I was getting my hands dirty and standing around the table with the other fellows. And the voice that had been so loud over the last 24 hours began to quiet. At least get quieter. It was no longer shouting at me, telling me I was a failure, that I didn't deserve to be standing around that table with all those other people. Don't get me wrong, it was there, but it wasn't as loud. And then came our final celebration. We were out on the other patio, dancing and enjoying our fellowship together. We gathered one last time before we were all headed home, and I looked around, as I'm doing right now. And there they were, some of the most amazing people I had the honor to spend my time with. That just 3 days ago, it was crazy to me, we had never met in person. Most of you were just a screen on a computer, a box on a computer, and the others, the senior fellows, were just pictures on a website with descriptions of their work. I kind of fanboyed over Jordy because I was so excited to meet them. I told them on the night that I met them too. And then I saw Paige, and I thanked her for reaching out. I don't remember everything that we talked about at that moment, but what I do remember saying to you was that my imposter syndrome was in full swing. And I don't remember what you said next, Paige, but I do remember the look in your eyes, and it told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't the only one. I never really felt imposter syndrome before, and I'd heard the term, but I didn't know what it meant. I think that's because the people I work with, the work I'm in, it's always around the context of things I know. I work with these incredibly high-achieving, amazing people, but it's all within the realm of public health dentistry, so I feel comfortable. In that world, we speak the same language, we are working towards the same goals, and we all grapple with the same challenges. But here I am in Miami with people who, in my opinion, were speaking a language I didn't understand. They were working towards goals that were way bigger than anything I could do as just a dentist. And they just were facing way bigger problems, so what do I have to complain about? But then I began opening up to others. I talked to Gwen, and I told her that I was feeling this, and you reassured me that I wasn't the only one. I talked to my therapist after getting back to Phoenix, and we worked through those experiences, what I was going through. And I talked to my other co-fellows, and you were all vulnerable. You were willing to be vulnerable and share your own challenges with me. And I realized something really important. I'm not an imposter. I'm a passionate person that wants to make a difference. I'm a little impatient at times and want things to go faster when I see everything going faster for those around us, for around me. But I'm also human and I make mistakes. Real quick, don't tell my students that I make mistakes because they all think I'm perfect. It's really important. The past year has taught me something that I hope to never forget. When things aren't going as well as planned, even though you think you can't keep moving forward, surround yourself with those who love and support you. It might be an incredible spouse, an upbeat coworker, or a friend who's just there to laugh at this crazy world with you. It could also be a world-class mentor, very patient instructors, or the most unbelievable group of people from around the world who want to make the world a better place. So to close, I'm going to invoke Sean one last time. But I'm going to give it a little twist. I've come to embrace over the last year that I am the average of the most amazing 19 people I got to spend my year with. Along with everyone here, I bring my own unique story, my own challenges, my drive to fight for justice, and together we are the Atlantic Fellows for Health Equity. I don't need to do what everyone else is doing, just like you all don't need to be doing what I'm doing. Because I know that what I'm doing has value, it makes a difference, and I fully believe that it makes the world a better place. And no voice is ever going to tell me otherwise. So, let's drown out those voices, and I'll tell you what to say, but we're going to say it together. We are the Atlantic Fellows for Health Equity. Come on. We are the Atlantic Fellows for Health Equity. Thank you.